Whether it's your baseball picks or your way too early football picks or your tennis picks, you got to pick them at Sports Interaction. Oh. That's right. It's Canada's sportsbook. Listen, before the game starts, live and play or how your favorite player will perform, doing it right since 1997, Sports Interaction is Canada's sportsbook with the most competitive odds. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Join now and see all that sports betting has to offer. You head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. One more time, that's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 plus, please play responsibly. The clock has started on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Steve Dangle, surprise, surprise, has something to say.
You want proof they're haunted? Last year, in goals for, they finished 6th. In goals against, they finished 7th. 67. Also, that's so good. How did they lose? I hate these guys, but I've watched some preseason games where they won, so I'm back on board.
All right. Well, the Leafs have had a lot of turnover this year, obviously notably losing Zach Hyman. Foligno is also out, and Jumbo Joe, and a bunch of other players. Now,
Freddie Anderson, Alex Galchenyuk.
Yep. Yeah. Apparently, Alex Galchenyuk, by the way, signed in Arizona for less money than the Leafs offered him to stay. So I think he may have overplayed his hand slightly on the market. Yes. Now, let's talk about the Leafs, okay? We're going to start with goaltending because this is a big changeover. Jack Campbell presumably is the starter, but you think he's probably a 45 to 50 game goalie if everything goes perfectly. Mm-hmm. And Peter Mrazek, who has been a starter in Detroit, has been a starter in Carolina, been a platoon guy in Detroit, been a platoon guy in Carolina, can do it in Toronto as well. There have been some odd goals that went in for poor Peter Mrazek this offseason. This preseason. Like I know one went off a D-man. It was
chaos.
Peter Mrazek might be the scariest goalie to watch since Curtis Joseph.
But stops pucks.
Right.
And he did a really good job stopping pucks last season.
What do you think Peter Mrazek brings to the Toronto Maple Leafs for the next 3 years under contract?
Well, I was going to say a stable tandem. Here's the problem with the Leafs. I can't tell you what he's going to do for the next 3 years because the situation is going to change aggressively at the end of the season when Jack Eichel. Sorry, I've been saying that too much. Jack Campbell becomes a free agent. So
some would call it fluid. It's a fluid situation.
Because I look at that tandem as it is, and it's a tandem. That's great. But next year they go and make Peter Mrazek starter. Well, I don't know how comfortable I feel with that. I don't think I feel comfortable at all unless he really gives us a reason to this season. And here's the other problem. I hope everyone's prepared for Michael Hutchinson to play some more games this year because Jack Campbell has had an enormous problem with injuries. And last year, Peter Mrazek had some of the best numbers in the NHL in just 12 games because he was injured. So if he's out and Campbell's out,
Hutch Daddy.
Who
cleared waivers today, by the way.
And potentially Colgren Daddy. Like, I don't...
Wall Daddy.
Hutchinson, who's weirdly on like his 4th kind of stint with the Leafs because of how often he's placed on waivers and then claimed and then re-signed by the Leafs.
And was actually kind of good.
And decent last year.
Whenever Kyle Dubas... you remember the scene in the Amazon documentary when they bring in Jimmy Vesey? It's like, we're putting you on waivers. Whenever they call Hutchinson in, he must be like, I know! And then just leave.
Hey, Mike, waivers? Got it.
I'll leave my locker. Yeah. I know I'll be back.
I'll be fine. We're good. Now, let's get into the Leafs defense, which arguably took the biggest step forward on the entire team last year, and that's with a high-powered offense. But the Toronto Maple Leafs have never been known for good defense, and as Steve said, 7th place in goals against last year, despite the fact that Jack was injured, and then Freddie was injured, and then Jack was injured again, and Michael Hutchinson was the guy.
And then Freddie was in net and not good.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. So here are the pairings. Morgan Rielly, TJ Brody, solid as a rock.
Cool.
Jake Muzzin, Justin Hall, solid as a rock.
Cool.
Here's where it gets interesting. Penciled in right now, Travis Dermott, Rasmus Sandin. Is this the year Rasmus Sandin breaks into the lineup?
To me, the guy I consider taking out is Travis Dermott.
Well, for who, though?
Timothy Liljegren. I really like what he's done this preseason, and I wonder if there's a potential trade there.
For Dermott?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want Dermott as a platoon guy if for the entire season?
Well, maybe he goes, screw that, I don't like that.
Or I would say, tough shit, man. You're Travis Dermott.
You get the Mikheyev treatment.
I don't think there's anything wrong keeping this little competition they have going into the season. Now, maybe for waiver reasons, they don't do that. Like maybe it's a guy like Biega who stays up with the team, and then they have Dermott and Sandin, and every now and then Biega's able to come in, or Dahlstrom, or whatever. But I think Liljegren's taken a step there. Sandin, I'm still not totally sure. He needs a little bit of seasoning. But at this point with Rasmus Sandin, Robertson, I have no reservations of sending back to the Marlies. He hasn't really played enough games at the NHL level yet for a variety of unfortunate reasons, most of them being injury. Sandin's played so much in the NHL and
ran their power play in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, like I don't really think he's got a place down there.
Right.
So if you're going to be doing development with him, that gets to continue in the NHL. So to me, the question mark is on the right side. Ty goes to the veteran. It's Dermott. But I really wonder if they consider keeping Liljegren on this team.
Question about Mac Hollowell, who is quietly 23 years old. Right? He was just drafted a second ago, wasn't he? Is Mac Hollowell a guy that could crack the lineup at some point this season?
The Leafs, one thing Dubas and co have done a really good job with is just getting guys who can play games in a pinch.
Okay. Now let's get to the forwards.
I don't even think he's the top right-handed prospect in the minors.
The conversation this year in the preseason has been what we got a lot of wingers. What are we doing with them? So here's what it looks like at this point as of this recording. Nick Ritchie, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner.
Yep.
Mikheyev getting his opportunity with Tavares and Nylander, and we know he's requested a trade because he wants to play top six, believes he can score. If he doesn't cut that damn stick down, though, I don't know. Kerfoot, who played really well with Tavares and Nylander, with Kampf and Andre Kasha.
That's a great line.
I want to come back to that in a second. And then Bunting, Spezza, Wayne Simmons, which I don't hate as well.
I also love that.
That's great.
So let's talk about, we know what Richie Matthews Marner is going to do. Richie, big, scary, front of net. Matthews, Marner. Mikheyev, we're going to give him a shot. We're going to see if this works out. If you can't score, you're going back to the third line and you're playing defensive minutes. And too bad, so sad, we'll trade you in the offseason, Tavares, Nylander. Tell me why you like the third line, guys.
It's a really defensively responsible line. They have found Kerfoot a thing.
What is that?
For a while, he didn't have a thing. His best thing that he had with the Leafs was the third best guy on the Tavares-Nylander line. That's not really a thing. A thing is I'm a penalty-killing center, or I'm a defensive player who can contribute offensively. And what I didn't like about the Kampf, I think it was Kampf, Kasha, Mikheyev line, it might be their best defensive trio of guys, but it ain't scoring. Kampf had, one goal last year? Mikheyev, it felt like it. He had 7. And Kasha basically didn't play. Mm-hmm. That's not an offensive threat. Kampf, with Kasha, who's defensively capable, and defensively and offensively capable, I should say, and Kerfoot, who is also both, I like that. Your third line, if given a defensive role, still needs to be a threat to score. And if they can be, then you have them running amok with the Tavares line above them and the Matthews line. That's a problem. The fourth line can score. That's a problem.
Yeah, we know Spezza can. And I'm sure I think Bunting played 19 games last year.
Yeah, and I think he had 10 goals.
Right. And I think a lot of people were very excited about him coming to play here. But I think rightfully so, the Leafs are probably like, well, you probably should push your way up the lineup. We're not just going to give you that top spot. But a lot of people had him slotted in against Matthews and Marner. For anybody that doesn't know, guys,
he still could.
What's the deal with Michael Bunting? Why do they like him?
Oh, he's a greasy little rat.
Okay, cool.
Curtis Gabriel named him, and it's. I mean, what a menace in the preseason. Like you talk about a guy who can't turn it off. We mentioned that with Robertson in a previous conversation, but Bunting's such a jerk and such a distraction, and it's a problem when someone gets in your face and you hate them, and then the very next shift they score.
Oh,
which is something that we saw in the preseason.
Jesse?
Yes?
Everybody's talking about what they hate about the Leafs.
Yes.
Right? Because everybody's negative about the Leafs right now, and rightfully so. Right? It was a sad way to end last year. It's a human thing. What do you like the most about the Leafs going into the season?
This team has something to play for. That is the overall narrative for the Toronto Maple Leafs during this regular season. There's something to fight for. Everybody likes to talk about how, hey, the regular season results don't matter for this team because they need to win a round. But the players don't see it that way. I think the players are going to look at, hey, we have 82 games here for something to prove going into that first first round playoff series that we're going to play. So I think that's what I like most about this team is every guy there, night in, night out, knows that last year wasn't acceptable, and will be fighting each night with something to prove. Unlike we have on a previous season preview, a team like Tampa who knows that, hey, we can just coast here and go into the playoffs and do our thing there. I believe the complete opposite about the Toronto Maple Leafs. I believe every single night, 82 times, top to bottom, every guy here is going to be trying their hardest.
We have no time left. Jesse or Steve, you would look like you want to say something.
I just want to say the Leafs should have won and didn't. This year, it's the same thing. They should win. Will they?
So, what are your projections? Jesse Blake.
Because of everything I just said and how hard this team is going to be trying during the regular season, I have them winning the division.
You have them top.
Wow. Yes. All right.
No team is going to be gunning every single game as the Maple Leafs will be.
I still have the Panthers first, Tampa second, but the Leafs third, which a lot of people have them in the wild card conversation.
I have the Leafs fourth place this year. We'll see what happens.